very special edition of Unlocking the Future. And today I've got a very special guest joining me from the University of Central Lancashire, my own university. So in a sense, a very senior colleague, my own Vice-Chancellor, Professor Baldwin. Welcome, Vice-Chancellor. Welcome. First, great to see you. And sitting here in India, great to have you on my show, and thank you for your time. We will talk to you about the future of education in a post-COVID world. So welcome. How have you been, and what's been your lockdown routine to set the ball rolling?
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here and a great opportunity to discuss the work that we're doing at UCLan. In terms of lockdown, I think for the university, it's gone well. We've been really pleased with the transition. We were early adopters of the use of things like Microsoft Teams, and that has helped us to continue to provide a service to our students. And from a personal perspective, I've missed the sort of day-to-day interaction with my colleagues and with the students, but as the use of technology has enabled us to continue, and we've been blessed over here in the UK with some really nice weather during spring, and I think that has actually helped us tremendously.
That's something that I was speaking to a very dear friend, Professor Elizabeth Kiss, who is the CEO of the Rhodes Trust last week, and she said the same to me about the spring. I'm missing it because I'm currently in India because of the lockdown, and soon would love to be back in campus speaking to you. Having said that, your emails tell me that UCLan is adopting this rather interesting blended approach, a synergy between in-person, small classroom teaching, social distancing measures being kept in mind. Can you give me a sense of the way forward, Vice-Chancellor?
Yes, certainly, Boria. We're still in the process of planning this, and I think we need to get down to the detail on a course-by-course basis. But generally speaking, clearly the most important thing for us is that all our students and staff will be safe and will be healthy during their time at the university. So health and well-being is very much at the centre of everything we're planning. So we're changing the way that the campus operates. We will have social distancing. We will have ingress and egress in buildings that will be slightly different to ensure that we're working on a sort of a one-way system to enable the social distancing to take place. Then with regard to the actual teaching, yes, we will have a blend such that some of our classes will be delivered on a remote basis using the technology that is at our disposal. And we'll be building on the experience of delivering such classes over the last few months. And I've got to say they've gone very well. The majority of our classes have continued. We've managed to examine and assess using technology, and the student feedback has been generally very positive. We will build on that, and where we have large group sessions, we will continue to make them available remotely. And the advantage of that is that students don't need to be in a lecture theatre. It would be challenging at this time because it doesn't enable social distancing. It enables them to do it from the comfort of wherever, but it also allows them to return to the session later because it's recorded. You can look at it again. You can work through it. And actually, interestingly, we've had better attendance in some of our remote sessions than we would have had if students had been there in person. Having said that, though, we recognise that we're the sort of university that is very much focused on real-world learning, that practice-based, that application. Students come to us because they want to be in the laboratories or they want to be using the specialist resources and the specialist facilities that we've got. So for the smaller session, for the specialist sessions, our intention is that students will have those on a face-to-face basis. We'll need to extend the use of the campus, so we'll be open for 7 days a week as opposed to the more normal 5. We'll extend work into the evenings so that we've got fewer students on campus at any given time, but all students get the opportunity to get onto campus. So we'll be doing that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually about to ask you to build on what you were telling me. So 2 questions. When fresh intake of students coming to the university, my country, for example, we have a lot of our students in my university, which is UCLan. A lot of Indian students want to know this, Vice-Chancellor. parents have been asking me this. What are the safety precautions? I mean, parents are worried about sending students abroad. That is a concern at this point in time. I have been telling them that my university, our university, will ensure that health and safety comes first. Students will be protected. Can you give me a sense of what you are doing, we are doing as a university to welcome fresh graduates, fresh intakes, fresh undergrads from India and other parts of the world? And secondly, for students who are already there, how will they access libraries or laboratories, and when do you envisage starting to open these facilities for students?
Okay. Well, thanks for that. In terms of the first part of that question, Boria, the safety elements, you're absolutely right. The health and safety and well-being of our students and our staff is our major priority. So lots of work going on at the moment within the university to ensure that. The first thing is we're looking at social distancing. So we've gone through every single room and building within the university, identifying what needs to change to ensure that we create the appropriate distance between individuals when in those rooms. That means that we will be accessing the buildings in a slightly different way. We'll be leaving buildings in a different way. There'll be a one-way system operating so that we're not in groups as we go through the buildings. Obviously, hand sanitization will be all over the campus. So we're installing at the moment 400 hand sanitizer stations that will be replenished all the time. We've got an enhanced cleaning system in place across the universities. We're introducing card swipe access to buildings so that you don't need to use handles, so you don't need to touch them. And we're also changing some of the opening mechanisms in other parts. We're doing temperature checks on students as well, and there will be PPE. Now, some of the PPE will be compulsory in certain sessions, but in others it will simply be if desirable, and we will be providing face coverings for students when they're on campus if they want them. So there's lots of planning going on in terms of that. With regard to international students, we will be meeting them on arrival. We will then escort them to the university to make sure that they're safe in terms of their transit tours. We will then ensure that they're appropriately accommodated. And what we're likely to do is have students living in groups of similar groups to those that they're studying with. So consequently, they're not necessarily exposed to too many people, different people, therefore increasing the risks. With regard to things like libraries, laboratories, etc., we expect to have those open in September, and students will be able to go and use the library, will be able to use the specialist facilities. Once again, all of the buildings have been, and the rooms and specialist facilities have been mapped in terms of the capacity, how many people can be in at any given time, and we will continue to refine that. They'll be open for longer, so consequently there may be, a booking system or a queuing system that students have to utilise in the first instance, but they will be able to get into the specialist facilities, they will be able to get into the library and use the resources that we've got.
So what you are in effect telling me is there is some kind of a social bubble plan that you are putting in place as far as students are concerned, which they will meet specific number of students. There's a study coming out of Oxford University which is actually saying this, that if you are in a social bubble, meeting the same people who you know, whose movements you can monitor, you are adequately safe, or the level of safety is that much more. If I can just move a little bit from students and ask a question about us, professors, yourself, what about senior professors? What about people who are the other side of 55 or 60? I mean, how are we trying to deal with protection for our academic staff, for our colleagues? What is the university policy?
Well, at the moment, our policy is, if it's possible to work from home or away from campus, you should do so. And that has been successful over the course of the last few months. We've got a skeleton staff really in the university. We've still got laboratory work taking place currently. We've got other colleagues in the university where it's necessary, but again, on a socially distanced basis, use of PPE, etc. we'll keep the number of staff on campus to a minimum over the next few months in order to maximize the number of students that we can get onto campus, because clearly there's going to be a finite number of people on campus at any given time. If there are fewer staff, there can be more students. Clearly we need to have the critical staff on campus, but if some of those staff are, for example, more vulnerable than others, then clearly we will have flexibility in the way that we deliver. Their timetables will be flexible. We can replace their classes by delivery with somebody else, etc., etc. And all that work is going on at the moment and is in the planning. So we're still confident that we will be able to get the right people to deliver to the students, but where that's not possible, we'll use alternative methods, so to, as I say, protect the health, safety and well-being of all staff and all students.
Okay, 2 questions, Vice Chancellor. One, you addressed the issue of international students, but if I can get a little bit more. So may I say to all Indians listening to this broadcast that students are still very, very free and encouraged to apply to UCLan. We will take care of you. We will ensure that you can come here, study, read, get educated in a safe environment as maximum as possible. And we are opening our doors to you to apply like the way you do every year. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, you're right. And I'm delighted to say that our applications at the moment from international students are up compared with this time last year. So they're showing a desire and a will to come and study with us at UCLan. I would reiterate, your health and safety is our uppermost priority. We want to make sure that you are safe, and we will have all these measures in place around the campus. But the other thing is, we also are aware that you need a good learning experience, and we are committed to ensuring that you've got access to the appropriate facilities, you will have access to the appropriate professors and tutors, and you will be able to use the technology as well to support that. So we are convinced that we've got a good learning experience available, but it will be safe and fit for students to come and study.
Excellent to hear that. Now to a more general question. There has been a lot of concern worldwide, and concern and anxiety about the economics of the whole education system. About possible job cuts, about possible salary cuts, and this is not restricted to education. It has now spread to every possible sphere, whether it is the media, whether it is any sphere. How is UCLan doing, or so at 2 levels? What is your understanding of the education system in general, and to a more specific UCLan-centric question, how is the university doing in terms of finances?
Okay, well, generally, I think it's a little bit unknown at the moment. The uncertainty really does come as a consequence of not knowing how many students will come during the course of the next year. Hopefully, with the measures that everybody's putting in place, students will feel confident that they can get a good learning experience in a safe environment, and they will still come. From a University of Central Lancashire perspective, this year we are doing well in the sense that although we've lost some income as a consequence of the lockdown, we've also been able to make some savings as a consequence of the lockdown. So this financial year is fine. In terms of next financial year, as I say, it's a little bit uncertain because of the we don't know what student recruitment will ultimately be, and as you're aware, student recruitment is the major source of income. But the good news is, from a UCLan perspective, is that we're financially strong. So many years of financial good management has meant that we have a good and healthy set of reserves. So whatever happens during the course of next year, we'll be able to get through it. It just will mean that we might do things slightly differently. But generally speaking, I'm very confident, and we're in a good position at UCLan because we are a large and successful university.
Okay, I have to put it on record here, Vice Chancellor, that under your leadership in the last few months and in my term, in my several years at UCLan, I've always felt protected. As an international professor, as somebody who has been part of the university now for close to 12 years, I have felt welcome, I have felt protected, I have felt taken care of. So I want to put that on record for every Indian who is listening to this broadcast, to every colleague of mine around the world listening to this broadcast, that this is a university that takes care of its employees and its staff. So make no mistake that this is a welcome place to come and work for and come and work in. So I commend you for your leadership. And now I want to just ask you two very different questions. I mean, I have been exploring opportunities, and here it is my own area of work, which is sport, which is something that you've been very supportive of. Our sports facilities at UCLan, both in terms of practical facilities and teaching facilities, are top drawer. And I've been exploring opportunities with the Sports Ministry of India, with the Government of India, with elite Indian athletes, that possible partnership, possible international collaboration. For example, the way Loughborough and Team GB does. Can such a thing be done as far as India is concerned, looking ahead at the Commonwealth Games, Birmingham coming up, looking ahead at Tokyo 2021, looking ahead at 2022 Birmingham? Can UCLan be a potential base for elite athletes? Will you be open to such an idea?
Oh, absolutely, and I think you're aware that my own academic background is sports science. I'm an exercise physiologist many years ago, and in fact started my career as a teacher of physical education. So this is really close to my heart. We've got excellent facilities, as you say, at UCLan. We are already just revising our sports strategy. We're making some changes. We're bringing in some new posts to further develop the work that we do within sport, both on an academic basis as well as a performance sport basis. We have actually hosted international teams previously for other events that have been hosted in the UK. Games, the Rugby League World Cup, for example, we hosted one of the nations then. So we would certainly be very keen to host Indians in preparation for the Commonwealth Games or other activities, utilising our facilities. We've got very good relationships with other bodies within the city that can provide levels of accommodation as well as the university accommodation, and therefore make it easy for athletes to be resident in the city, but also to have access to our world-leading sports facilities. So yeah, it's something that we'd be very keen to do.
The reason I asked you this question is UCLan is very strategically located. I mean, it is half an hour from Manchester, which has a massive Indian population. Food and culture and the whole Indian influx there makes Manchester a preferred city for us in the UK. And the facilities in UCLan are top drawer. I mean, we spent millions of pounds building these sports facilities. So if these elite athletes ahead of a major games like the 2022 Birmingham Games are stationed in the UCLan facilities, one, they are exposed and acclimatized. Two, they've got access to the best training facilities, and three, they are also exposed to the culture. So in every sense, this partnership makes sense. So that is why I asked you this question, that if and when, if something can go through, will you be sort of be keen on, and provide leadership if need be in your capacity as Vice-Chancellor, and have a dialogue with the ministry in India, with the sports minister, for example, and take such a project forward?
Yeah, very much so. No, I'd welcome the opportunity. I'd be personally happy to be involved as the Vice-Chancellor, but also drawing on my colleagues, the Director of Sport and others who would be equally keen and enthusiastic. And as I say, it's something that we've done perhaps on a smaller scale, but we have done it in the past. And to work with our colleagues in India, recognising the opportunity that would afford would be really quite exciting. And you're right, we're very well located, and in terms of Birmingham, we're only a couple of hours up the road. It's very easy to get to straight onto the motorway or on the train system, and a good infrastructure around the city of Preston. So I think it would make sense, but from a personal point of view and from a university point of view, we'd be very keen to do it.
Vice-Chancellor, if I can ask you a global education question, I mean, one concern that sort of I've been reading about is, because of various countries being in various stages of COVID, students are worried about losing out on years, losing out on months, losing out on classroom teaching, and this ranges from school to university. how do you, as an academic expert, as a senior academic administrator, wish to respond to this challenge? If I can ask you as a guide, what do you think should be a short-term and a medium-term strategy for universities across the world? How do they overcome this? I mean, obviously there will be variants, obviously there will be multiple challenges, but ultimately our interest is to protect students and ensure that at one level they are safe, at another level that they do not miss out on potential education opportunities which some other student might get. How does the world sort of come together in this? Just like in the case of a vaccine, you need equitable distribution. Similarly, in the case of education, how does one address this challenge?
I think there are multiple ways that you need to do that. From an individual perspective at UCLan, we clearly are focusing on ensuring that we get our students through their programs on time and with the same sort of offer as they expected. And I think we've achieved that this year. And if we can start back in September along the lines that I've outlined, I'm confident that we will be able to ensure that students continue to progress according to the appropriate timescales. We will be looking at putting in certain additional learning experiences if something has been missed from a practical perspective, and we recognise that needs to be done. From an international perspective, I think you're absolutely right. This requires collaboration. It requires universities to work together, to share their ideas, their learning, their experiences. And indeed, we've been doing that and doing it very successfully. We have, as I think you know, international partnerships all over the world. Many in Southeast Asia, over in China and Hong Kong and places. Institutions that were affected by lockdown far sooner than we were. And we've continued to work with them. We have provided online and remote learning into those universities over the course of the last few months, ensuring that learning was able to continue. And they're now providing advice and guidance as they start to reopen and to begin to get students back onto campus as to what's working, what needs further improvement, etc. They're sharing that with us. So actually our experience when the students come back in September will not only be guided by our own planning, but will be guided by the advice we will be receiving from our partner institutions overseas who are a few months ahead of us in terms of reopening. So I think you're right, it's very much, there is a need for collaboration, for sharing, for ongoing dialogue from institutions across the world. And I'm really pleased to say that UCLan is ideally placed for that because of the very significant international network of partnerships that we've got.
One fundamental question that worries a lot of parents who I've been speaking to, whose children are studying abroad or in different parts of India also, is access to public transport, because people are saying that public transport is something they're really worried about. Will the university think about that students who are sort of staying in maybe half an hour away from the city or a little away from the city so that they can commute to campus, will the university keep that in mind?
Yes, absolutely. In terms of students travelling initially to the university, we'll look at ways in which we can get them safely from the point of entry into the UK to the university. We will then encourage students to live relatively close to the university for the reasons you say, so that they don't need to rely on public transport. We're lucky, Preston's a very accessible city. Our accommodation basically surrounds the university, so if you're in the university accommodation or some of the local student accommodation, you can get to the university very, very easily. And we'll look at other opportunities such as the provision of bicycles and things like that that will make getting to the campus easier without them having to go on public transport. But also we will make face coverings available, etc., so that if they do need to go on public transport, that they can do as safely as possible. And social distancing on public transport will continue for some time. But yeah, we'll make every effort to ensure that students don't rely on that. They can get to the campus safely and effectively without requiring public transport. And I think walking and bikes will be the main mode of transport.
And Preston is navigable in that sense, so we have an advantage clearly. So there's no question that we do have an advantage. Last two questions, Vice Chancellor, before I let you go. And this is an important question. When we talk about students, current students, and I've heard this from other academic administrators as well, your colleagues and counterparts in Oxford, for example, some students, because of the lockdown, have missed on library access, have missed on laboratory access, have missed on class access, and may not be able to finish courses in time. Some have not been able to go to fieldwork. So there has been a bit of a disruption in their routines. So students who are facing such disruption, how do we protect them and how do we assure them that they are not losing out in it?
Okay, well, when they come back, we will obviously make an analysis of what's been missed, and we will put in place mechanisms to enable them to catch up. Some of that will be by getting back into the laboratories or into the specialist facilities and specialist resources that they require to undertake their work. We're also making sure that there's no detriment in terms of any future assessment that they will undertake. We will recognise that they have been disrupted in terms of their studies to date. But as I say, the most important thing is that we do something to ensure that they can catch up. But we will make sure that there's no cost to them in terms of the financial underpinnings or indeed cost in terms of their overall learning experience. So we will carry it forward, make sure they catch up, and then enable them to progress. But as I say, we will also bear in mind, and there will be no detriment in terms of any future assessment that they undertake.
Excellent, and the principal point from this is that you are protecting them against any financial underpinnings as a result of this disruption, which will be great to hear for any student who's hearing this conversation. You've given me a very, very, how do I put it, a sense of positivity and optimism coming out of this, that yes, we have a challenge on our hands, but we will overcome this challenge. That's the sense I get. Now, if I can ask you my last question. Yes, the world wasn't prepared. Yes, we have had to go through some really tough months, but gradually, whether it is science, whether it is the story of a vaccine, whether it is therapy, whether it is social distancing, but it is gradually getting a measure of what to do to be able to lead into the new normal. Do you have that sense as well, that yes, there is a pandemic, yes, there is a problem, but ultimately human civilization, like always, will triumph, and maybe come 2021, we will be able to get back a sense of the new normalcy that we are talking about?
Yes, I do. I'd share that very much so. I mean, I am an optimist by nature. I do think that you can see some really positive things coming out of what has been an absolutely tragic circumstance. But, you know, we have shown that human spirit, that will to overcome, and we've shown a lot of innovation. And, you know, one of the characteristics of the University of Central Lancashire is its innovation, its sort of enterprising spirit. And we've done an awful lot. I think actually during this period, we've been able to demonstrate the value of universities to communities as well. So we've been undertaking research into areas of the disease. We've been producing PPE for the local hospitals. We've been providing psychological support. We've been providing social care support. Right across the areas of requirement from this disease, the university has been able to make a contribution, which I think is fantastic. And you know, we've learned an awful lot from this. So I do believe that there will be, as we move forward, lots of positives. I do believe the universities will be able to return to be able to provide the experience that students really want, which is that peer-to-peer engagement, that engagement with academic experts, that opportunity to really get underneath their subject within a vibrant campus. And we will have the tools in place to enable us to do that in the future.
You know, it's been an absolute pleasure of mine talking to you, Vice-Chancellor, as a senior colleague, as someone who has taken care of us as our head. And your leadership has been commendable. I want to put that on record, that to get your emails periodically every week right through this period has been a tremendous sense of positivity coming out, a sense of hope coming out of your messages. I've been proud to be a member of your community at UCLan, and UCLan as a university believes and thrives on multiculturalism, on internationalism, and what you just heard from Professor Graham Baldwin is that message he's giving out loud and clear to every student who wants to come to this university. As a member of staff, I can tell you, we will take care of all of you. Come to us because we will ensure that you are protected, you are felt welcome, you are welcome, and most importantly, that enriching student experience that UCLan provides or has provided over the years will not change. Professor Baldwin, stay safe, stay healthy, and continue to lead us the manner that you've done.
Very kind. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Boria, today, and very much appreciate what you've said, and look forward to working with you and to welcoming our students in the future.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Vice-Chancellor. And once again, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye.